Someone's walking right there.
Marty?
Oh, Roy.
There's Roy.
Okay.
Roy.
How's it going? How's it going?
Good. Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Michael Roy.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
My leg.
Not too bad.
Congratulations, Coachy.
Lázaro.
How are you doing?
Oh, we do. He gave us copies of it.
Lázaro.
Okay.
On the, just for next time on the agenda, este ya lo puedes quitar de aquí, he's not even here no more. Because I put him on here for that, he was in the process, I hope. Okay, ¿quién lo hace? Sí, pero esto, ¿quién pone los nombres?
Are you talking about the members? It's not until he's filled. I can start putting vacant if you like, but
So the name still gotta be on
he
there?
could still come until his position is filled.
Oh, okay.
So, but I could put vacant moving forward.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. All right. It's 5:03, and we will go ahead and commence this Del Rio Golf Course Commission meeting. Marty, may I have roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Jesus Lopez Jr.,
Present.
Member Ernesto Hernandez Jr.,
Present.
Member Roy Muskis,
Present.
Member Mauricio Salinas,
Present.
Member Oscar Cardenas,
Present.
Member Willie Hislop.
Present.
Okay, Councilman, you do have a quorum.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is number 3, public comments. We do have one individual that has signed up. Her name is Stephanie Quilio with Bike Del Rio. Ms. Quilio, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Hello, gentlemen. I volunteer with Bike Del Rio. I ride as a group every Tuesday, and I'm one of the ride leaders. And we are trying to come up with new routes for our bike rides. And there's really not that many options in the city, but I have ridden my bike in the golf course before, and it's amazing. It's beautiful. And I think I was trespassing when I was doing that. And I'm wondering if there is like a code compliance way that we could come as a group. There's usually like 20 of us and ride on the sidewalks through the golf course. Yeah. That's more of a question than a comment, but that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We can do it on Monday.
Okay, the next item is number 4, approval of the February 26, 2025 meeting minutes.
Gentlemen, we all have copies of this last meeting as far as the minutes and approval.
Motion to approve?
Okay,
Second.
got a first, got a second.
Who was that, Mr.?
Roy,
And who was the second? Thank you.
Ernie,
Thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item is number 5, introduction of the new golf course business manager.
I got a question, Marty. To her response?
No.
We
No,
can
not
only
yet.
receive
That's what I
comments. You can direct someone to reach out to her with a response.
Well, could somebody do that too? Mr. Carcasa, could you please reach out to her? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, Commission, Councilman. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our new golf course business manager. A lot of y'all may know him. You know, he volunteers for various organizations, but I'll leave that to him to explain. But allow me to introduce you to Mr. Carlos Ayala.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the audience. Thank you for the introduction. Of course, my name is Carlos Ayala, and I just started as the golf business manager on April 1st. I do have plenty of experience in sales and service industry because I ran a sales and service distribution company. So I have a really good feel about how to deal with customers and how to deal within teams and how to get the best out of teams. And these 3 weeks that I've been at the golf course, I know it's a team. It's a team all over for me. There's a team outside, there's a team inside, but we're all one team. Everybody has their missions, everybody has their goals, but somebody has to be in charge. And I take pleasure in that. I take a lot of pride in that. I played golf at that golf course before, but I never realized how special it was, obviously, looking from this perspective. The history and the heritage that it has is very important. And I think it's a very important asset for this community, for this city, and I will do my best to honor it. Okay.
Thank you and welcome, sir.
Thank you.
We're always looking for team players to make sure the golf course is always in good standings with the constituents, players, and good luck, and hopefully everything goes all well for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to comment to the gentleman?
Welcome.
Okay, we are on item B, discussion and presentation on Golf Commission, City Council guidance.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I prepared a presentation. I did this presentation last night at the council meeting. And so I wanted to present it to y'all. And we'll kind of go through it, and then we can kind of have our discussion. So I included some background to the golf course because I thought it was important. And I took a lot of this from our golf course master plan summary. The property consists of 86 acres of 9-hole San Felipe Springs golf course, along with 2 undeveloped tracks to the north of the existing course, which total about 73 acres. That's the area undeveloped on the other side of the course. That's the same area where our new water well is going in. So the San Felipe Springs Golf Course is unique in many ways and of great historical significance. It was the first golf course built in Texas in 1921 by John Brademus, the famed designer of such courses as Colonial Country Club in Fort Worth and Memorial Park Golf Course in Houston. And he was known as the father of Texas golf. So I didn't realize that we had someone famous come in and design the course back in 1921. So in addition to its historical significance, the San Felipe Springs Golf Course occupies land that was once inhabited by indigenous peoples due to its proximity along the creek. So this kind of gives some difficulties for us, is why we don't have those additional 9 holes to the north because of this historical significance. So design or construction of any work there requires close coordination with the Texas Historical Commission because of the archaeological areas that they found in that area of the golf course. So there was going to have to be a lot of work around that area. Beyond the archaeological challenges, the golf course and its new property involve work in and around the San Felipe Creek floodplain and floodway. Almost every existing golf hole is in the 100-year floodway, and substantial parts of at least 5 holes are in the regulatory floodway. This means that any work done in these zones will require hydrology modeling and ultimately approval from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and/or local drainage districts. And I included this part because last night City Council did approve the budget transfer for holes 4 and 7. And when I was preparing this, I came across the requirement of floodplain management for any work being done at the golf course. So I reached out to our Public Works Director, Greg Velasquez, and told him our intent of repairing holes 4 and 7, and the discovery of those holes are in the regulatory floodway. Good news is it doesn't mean it can't be done. We just have to take a few extra steps to do it. We have to submit documentation and get approvals from our floodplain manager and from FEMA that we're keeping the course at the same height, the base elevation, base flood elevation. So all of that's possible. It just takes a little more coordination. So I just wanted to include that for y'all's knowledge. So on October 20th, 2015, during the regular council meeting, the city council voted to municipalize the San Felipe Springs Golf Course as of November 1st, 2015. The previous owners of the San Felipe Country Club who ran the golf course operation approached the city to terminate the lease and cease golf course operations. On November 3rd of 2015, staff presented the current fee schedule at that time, charged at the golf course by the country club, and the recommendation was to keep the same fees for the months of November and December, and city staff would come back with a better fee structure to go into effect in January of 2016. So on December 15th of 2015, the Golf Commission was established. I copied this straight off of the resolution that was presented on that day. In October, the city municipalized the San Felipe Golf Course. The city now has all operational aspects related to the golf course. Since the city has full operations, it is recommended by staff to establish a golf commission to advise city council on all matters relating to the use, maintenance, improvement, promotion, and operation of the San Felipe Springs Golf Course. The commission will review and approve the golf course's annual fiscal year budget and operating plan. The commission will also review monthly financial reports, course fee structure, and provide an annual report to city council.
Seems like, can I ask a question? On presenting it to the city council, would that be the superintendent, the manager, or who will present the report of the annual fee?
That would be the golf course commission is supposed to present an annual report to the city council.
So the golf course, like the chairman, or we can.
The members, yeah,
Tell them go out there and introduce it or present it to the council?
correct. That's correct, sir.
So it would not be the manager or the superintendent that's in charge of the golf course?
No. So I'll get into the exact wording of the ordinance.
Okay.
And I just included this in case, like I said last night, in case anybody gets bored like I do, and I read city ordinances at night. This is where you can find it, Chapter 7, Article 12, under the City Code of Ordinances. So under Section 607, it discusses the duties of the commission. So it says the Golf Course Commission shall have the following duties and responsibilities. 1, develop and make recommendations to City Council on matters concerning the operations and management for the golf course for the City of Del Rio. 2, advise City Council on matters relating to the use, maintenance, improvement, promotion, and operation of the San Felipe Springs Golf Course. 3, review and approve the golf course's annual fiscal year budget and operating plan. 4, review monthly financial reports, course fee structure, and provides an annual report to the City Council. And 5, perform additional duties and functions as may be required from time to time by specific action and direction of the City Council. So the question you had, Councilman, was on number 4. The Golf Courses Commission, one of their duties is to provide an annual report to City Council.
Okay.
So it would be the commission provides that report. We would probably generate the agenda item, but the commission would do the presentation to council.
Okay, so I guess we're going to start doing that. Tell them this is part of the ordinance. The golf course.
Scott, if I may, the way it was presented in the past is the commission would make recommendations on the report, and then the report that would be considered at council would be brought here first, reviewed by the commission, and if the commission approved it, then it would be presented to council, but usually it would be.
City staff?
Yes.
Okay.
For example, you, if you're the the liaison for, and then the commission would be in the audience to support you with any questions that the council might have.
Okay, so
But
there you go.
But the report is a combination of the commission's recommendations and discussion, and then from there you create the report that gets presented.
Okay. So, I was aware of a question came up about the commission's duties. And so I met with Ms. Burkhart and we discussed, there's a conflict currently with the ordinance as it's written versus the operation that we're actually doing. So we brought this to City Council last night to get guidance on which direction the council wanted to go. So with this page, it currently shows what each task as defined in the ordinance and who is actually doing that task. So develop and make recommendations to the City Council on matters concerning the operations and golf course. Concerning the operations and management. Currently, that's city staff and administration that make those recommendations to City Council, and it's usually occurring during budget season. Advise City Councils on matters relating to the use, maintenance, improvement, promotion, and operation of San Felipe Springs Golf Course. Again, usually we have these meetings where we're providing y'all updates, we get your feedback, and then we make those recommendations to City Council. That's usually city staff and administration. So again, that's a conflict in between our current practice versus what the ordinance says. Review and approve the golf course's annual fiscal year budget and operating plan. So that is city staff and administration during the budget process, which we're currently in. That is all part of the work we do with City Council through the multiple budget meetings. The Golf Course Commission currently really doesn't have any direct input into that other than what we get back from y'all during these commission meetings. That's the current operation, and again, that's in conflict with the current city ordinance.
Can I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
Correct me if I'm wrong. We can attend the budget meeting from the commission to see what we're budgeted for the golf course.
Yes, all the budget meetings are public meetings. So you can definitely attend those meetings. Review monthly financial reports, course fee structure, and provides an annual report to City Council. So, as I mentioned last night, city staff provides monthly financial reports recently. I know we had some in the past, but they weren't actually very accurate until Flavio came along. Then I felt truly comfortable in the numbers that we were receiving were the correct numbers. And then we present those to y'all monthly. I think we missed. No, we're in April. So,
Correct me on this, on the annual reports and the numbers and the figures, the sales and all that, you give them to the financial department to give you that annual report, or does the manager of the golf course going to make that report?
so the manager of the golf course currently generates that report, and it is in conjunction with working with the finance department because they also have their records. So we compare what we show to what they show, and that way they balance out and they're correct. So what Flavio was providing us was expenses and revenues to show us positive or negative. And the expenses included, salary, equipment, fuel, all of those versus the revenue coming in. And that's where I was showing y'all those documents of where we were operating in the negative for the past several years. And it's been increasing steadily over those years. We're going to be, it's looking this year, we're going to again be in another deficit. So that's something that my first meeting with Carlos was to discuss that deficit and try to come up with ideas of how we get out of that deficit. So the next slide is what I had for city council, to try to give us some feedback on what their vision was. Are we sticking with the current ordinance? Are we modifying the ordinance? What exactly, how did they want us to proceed? They didn't give specific information last night. I believe what was decided is they were gonna get back to us, and we would present that again to them in the future of which direction they wanted to go. One of the items I did mention last night was, we've been directed by city council to bring back the Parks Commission. And since the golf course is under Parks, do we keep the entire golf course commission as a subcommittee of the Parks Committee, or do we have the members of the golf course commission become members of the Parks Commission? And so, again, that's gonna be a discussion with city council to decide how they wanna do their boards and commissions. And we're gonna have to get feedback on that from council. So that's pretty much all I had as far as the presentation that occurred last night. But I'm open to any questions or discussion that y'all may have.
Well, if we could go to the previous slide, to answer my question, what's the purpose of this commission? Evidently, y'all are doing all the work. That should be the commission's responsibility, is what I'm gathering.
So basically, from the historical perspective that I've gathered for the commission's creation was because the city had no experience running a golf course. Over the years, the city has taken on more of those responsibilities. And so what has been told to me was on several occasions, they have brought forward, do we need the golf commission any longer, right? And it's always been voted down by city council. So again, that's why I wanted to bring this forward, because the way we're currently doing it is in conflict with one of our city ordinances. So we have to figure out how are we gonna stick with the ordinance as written, or are there modifications gonna be made? And so that's what the presentation was for last night. And I was hoping to have some better answers for y'all today to what city council's vision was for the golf commission. But it was determined that they'd get back to us and we'd be talking about it again in the future.
So is it your observation, since you come on board and got responsibility of this for over 10 years or 9 years, the ordinance has been wrong?
No, so again, the original commission, they were tasked with that because the city didn't have any experience running a golf course. And over the past years, it's kind of shifted more towards direct city operation. And so when the question was asked, that's when I researched more into it and I approached Ms. Burkhart that, yeah, the current way we're doing it is in conflict with the current ordinance. So that's what it was presented back to council to determine which way they wanted to go with the duties of the golf commission. I know some of the feedback last night was they definitely want to keep the commission to get input, but that was about as far as we got, as far as the specific duties that are listed in the ordinance.
I'm going to share my thoughts, and if I'm allowed to, I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not, but I really don't see the purpose of this commission if the 5 items that we're responsible for are already being taken. I think my opinion, it'd be more productive if we form a group of people that care about the golf course, are interested in the golf course, and have roundtable discussions with the new city manager and let him present the ideas. But that was the reason I asked the question, because I really, and you demonstrated, and the truth to the matter is, we really don't have any duties to do or to feel that's not already being taken place of. And so, if y'all want to dissolve it, the truth of the matter is we have no influence whatsoever, so I don't see the purpose of keeping the commission. That's my personal opinion. Y'all might disagree, but I think we would accomplish more not in such a formal environment where you don't know if you could speak or not speak, but I think I'm happy to have Carlos Ayala. I'm happy to have somebody that cares about the golf course and cares about the condition, and I think we could accomplish a lot more if we plant the seed in his ear and let him try to represent. That's my opinion. If the rest of the commission thinks that they're serving a purpose here, they're,
Right.
they could stay, but I really don't see what the purpose is, in my personal opinion.
See, that was the reason that when Mr. Eddie Ochoa was let go, and the position has been a superintendent, and he's only in charge of the golf course. Parks was never involved. It was just him and run the whole golf course for maintenance operations and sales and everything. And that's why I prefer to keep it in that particular manner, because he's there, he sees, he manages, he takes care, he has the operations, and let parks, because we've got 16 parks, that the park superintendent or anybody in charge of parks doesn't have to be concerned with that particular golf course. The golf course is a golf course, it's not a park. It's not open to the public. It's open to members. It's open for golf only. That's a one thing item of things people can do. Just play golf. Not go play football, run, fish, nothing. Just golf. So that's why, I understand that you did it for a purpose of just putting several people in charge of certain areas, but I still feel this position should always and should have been maintained as a superintendent. So that way the Parks Department can take care of the parks, and he's overseeing everything. But I know what y'all did. Y'all changed it up for certain reasons. I do not know. It didn't come up to the Golf Commission to say, this is not what we're going to do with this position once Mr. Ochoa was gone. So y'all did it prior to having problems finding a golf pro superintendent, the way it's described here in the ordinance back in 2015. I have the ordinance when it started and how it all went, and how the positions were even created and everything. So 2015, I got all of them. So that's why, and you still introduce even Fabio on February's agenda item as a golf superintendent, though y'all still keep telling him as a manager. Now, I don't know if it can be changed back to that position, or we're going to wait and see how it works out before we decide. But till then, to see how it works out, maybe like Mr. Hislop wants to, or is recommending or advising that maybe it ain't worth having this committee. But sometimes this committee, being golfers, business people, love for the field, love for the golf, they're just helping the gentleman and reminding him and seeing which way we can help, other than city maintenance. We got no control of the maintenance. They got no control of I know we don't have control of anything up there, but it's advisory. That's the way it's recommended here in the ordinance. It's just because they got no control of going in there, let me see the books, or let me see what you sell. That's city business, city finance. But we'll see the outcome of all this in the way they created, what they created this year or since last year, and we'll see how it goes. I'm not disappointed. I'm just saying that these gentlemen up here in the golf committee that have been here since I got on, they care for the field. And yes, I see the frustrations that they have no teeth, nothing's heard, nothing's brought to council when they do recommendations. But they care for the golf course. So this committee is not done of people, of ordinary citizens that don't know nothing about golf or business. These people are here because they care. They care for the quality of life and the maintenance and the taking care of the golf course. That's why they do recommendations. That's why they ask for certain things for the golf course. Yes, we may not be able to give out money, budget, or all that, but maybe now we're going to be involved with the budget when it comes to the golf course. Maybe we can help Mr. Mario there to say, hey, can we assist or can we recommend and you bring it up or whatever. Now, we'll see what's going to happen here in the near future to see how this position is going to overcome, stay or not stay, change or no change, committee gone or not gone. But I know they've been working on it. But again, that's just my opinion. The golf committee has another opinion. If these gentlemen did not care for the golf course, did not care to be in the committee, to not even put their time to be here, you know, they show dedication. They show they want to do something for the golf course. And that's everybody. But that's only my opinion. Everybody has their own opinion, and Mr. Hitler just did his. But I know what you put up there, and I know that we don't do much because we can't do much. We are recommendations of the committee are recommendations. That's what it is established for back in 2015 or 19, whatever all this. So that's what I say. So all this time, the ordinance has been wrong for 9 years. We're 9 years now. The way the committee has been done here up before even me. So that's why I understand why nobody even caught it. Nobody questioned it. And now it's been a problem.
And if I can, so to say the ordinance has been wrong the whole time isn't correct.
Okay?
The somewhere along the way with city administrations, it started shifting, right? So again, I was unaware of this till the question was asked. And as soon as I saw that there's a conflict in the current operation versus the ordinance, that's when we brought it forward. Because, I mean, I'm our compliance guy. So to see that we have an operation that is in conflict with an ordinance is a problem. So that's why I brought it to the city manager. She said, you know, this is a council-driven commission, bring it to city council. So that's what the presentation was last night, was to have council decide, do we want to stick with the current ordinance and give the commission the teeth that are in the ordinance, or are we going to stick with the current operation, which is kind of a hybrid of all the above, but with no teeth, right? So that's why we brought this forward last night. Because we can't change the ordinance, right? Council has to, this is a council-driven commission, so council has to decide how do they want it to operate. All I was trying to do was point out that exactly the question that Mr. Hislop asked was the correct question.
The duties have transferred. The duties have transitioned to the city.
Correct.
I am totally fine with that. I just think that if that's the case, let's regroup, let's rethink, and let's see how we could help
Right.
Carlos achieve his goals. That's my opinion. I think y'all have taken over the duties of the commission, so that was why I brought up the question. Is,
Right.
what are we here for? But I think there's other ways to work around it, and I look forward to working with Carlos. That's my point of view, and I think we'll get more accomplished that way, to be honest
And-
with you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Carlos, but didn't you bring up a thing about a Friends of the Golf Course kind of group? Was that you, or was that, it may have been somebody else I talked to. But they, especially when we were talking about the shortage of funds for the greens, I was approached of, do we have a Friends of the Golf Course that could go do fundraising to directly tie into the golf course? And I said, we don't currently have that, but that would be a good idea, right? You know, we have, you know, groups in town for parks, you know, Parks Foundation, Rotary Club, Bike Del Rio, you know, that do events to raise money for specific things at specific parks. So maybe something like that would be beneficial. The really positive thing that I feel good about going forward in the future is, and I'm not just trying to hype him up, but he has a vision and he has the experience in the business world of accomplishing that vision. You know, I gave him a crash course in government finance and procurement and the have an elected body that decides what you get and what you produce. And, you know, I think he got a crash course in that, and he was like, wow, this is going to be tough. And I said, yeah, that's why we're glad we hired you to do it. But I feel really positive about the future of the golf course with him as directing our business side. And back to the question you had about when it was split. So at the request of finance, and multiple, the previous finance director, the interim finance directors, the budget analysts, they could never get an accurate accounting of the golf course because we were hiring people that knew golf. And it was hard to find somebody that knew golf and the financial side. So, yeah, we made a radical right turn and we found a financial guy to just handle the business side of it. And we started seeing reports that at least we knew where we were short. How are we selling our inventory? We had some items that we were buying and selling for less. We were selling it for less than we were buying it. One of the first things Carlos has done is he's come in and evaluated our inventory, and we're going to have to make some adjustments because, one of the first things he's told me, that's crazy. We're selling it for less than we're buying it for, and then we're surprised we're losing money. So, that was within the first week of him starting. So, it's that kind of vision that we need for the golf course. We need a business-minded person to be on the business side of the golf course to try to at least bring it closer together.
So now we hired a golf pro management experienced man that
Yes.
knows both sides,
Yes.
so he can basically run the whole thing by himself. Correct?
Well, we're hoping that the business side occupies 99% of his time because that's so again, back to our first conversation with Carlos, one of our first few meetings that we had, he immediately said, 4 and 7 are a problem. We're not going to get people out there unless we fix 4 and 7. We need to increase the number of players, the volume of players going to the course. So we pitched that back to the city manager and to finance and said, how do we get there? And, it was a budget amendment. It came from fund balance for that money to be applied because we cannot progress business side-wise, collect more money with 2 greens that aren't usable. So, we got that funding last night. We're starting that process to get the approvals to go do the work. And, we're hoping, before winter, we have everything set and it starts growing again. And by next spring, we have 2 more great greens. But there's more that we need to do. When we're operating in a deficit and the general fund is having to support it, it's hard to pull more money towards that kind of stuff. But if we can get it running more profitable on the business side, well, then we can say, well, we have X amount of dollars that the golf course generated that we can put back into the golf course.
Yeah, because right now all the money goes into the general fund.
That's correct.
So there's
Everything
nothing
goes to
there
the,
that can say, keep 10,000 and give them 20,000.
right.
So if we kept some money for the golf course for maintenance and operations, I don't think we'd be in this predicament of trying to borrow so much money. It doesn't take that much money to maintain not even the greens.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was trying to show is that we're not bringing in enough money to even operate the golf course right now. And, there's, again, he's got great ideas. I'm gonna let him work his magic. I told him my job and Lazaro's job is to support him and push those ideas forward and see how we can get it
Yeah, if the prices go up in Cokes, water, candy, basically to the level of H-E-B, not Walmart, or convenience stores, and he understands the market.
Right.
So now we know we're 50 cents too low, or 75 is too low. Golfers are not gonna complain because they buy the same candy thing somewhere else where it's a lot
Right.
higher. So they're not gonna complain if they wanna buy. But I did have one more question, if I can ask the question, are we gonna get our beer license back?
So again, that's going to be up to city council on what direction we're going. I'd rather not get too far ahead of that because again, that's a council decision. But again, we are kicking around a lot of ideas to be able to give the golfing community what they're asking for, and a potential way for the city to see some revenue off of that. The golf course to see revenue off of that. So there's, one step at a time, as soon as whatever's decided with the current occupant, then we can make those decisions.
So that right now, we already lost it, right? We don't have the permit no more?
No, we haven't had it for 2 years, a little over a year.
And Good Bargain went in there.
Right.
Okay, all right, well, we'll see what the recommendation is, and the recommendation is to take it to council, the next city council meeting, so we can act fast on that. Because tournaments, golfers, they do want to drink. You know that. I mean, of course, they're not supposed to, but they used to be there for members and all that, for them to enjoy playing in the golf. But if any of the committee members have any objection that, on the recommendation, to bring it to council next time, or what do y'all recommend on that?
I don't know if y'all have any comments on it.
Getting back the beer license to sell beer in a pro shop?
Yeah, I believe that should be a discussion, of course. I mean, especially if it's gonna create some revenue for the golf course.
The one thing I'll add is the city cannot hold a license.
That's correct. You're gonna have to find an individual in the city willing to say, the license is under my name, and that's an
Right.
administrator.
So, yeah,
So how did we detain it last time?
it was
The
in
individual's
individuals' names.
Yes.
And, yeah.
And who was administrator at that time?
Well, when I came in, not knowing, I was just told sign here, so I did, and it was under mine. And when I learned the liability of being responsible for a TVC license, I immediately asked to be removed from it. From then on, nobody's really wanting to take on that responsibility.
And so we're looking at another vendor type that would absorb that liability because we don't want to put it on a city employee. Because anything that occurs at the golf course that's alcohol related, the employee would be liable. So, again, I don't want to get the cart before the horse, but we do have, Carlos has some great ideas on it. That once council decides what the outcome is going to be of the current situation, that we can come back and address that to council.
Well, I'm gonna leave it up to Mr. Carlos to make those decisions to best of his ability, having background in sales and where the business prior employment, to see what's the best way to bring that back to the golf pro shop. And because, like I said, during tournaments, there's a lot of revenue there,
Right.
and on weekends, and then there's a lot of golfers.
Right.
And I know there's one of their dehydrating drinks.
Right.
Okay, but go ahead, sir, keep your presentation.
So, that's pretty much all I had as far as, a presentation and discussion on the Golf Commission, unless any other commission members have any questions or comments about what we're currently doing and what we're trying to do with city council. to get direction on that.
You have here a revenue report, sir, that we present, I guess, but it's kind of like big, or is it two-sided that, you know, we're gonna see it? Because it's
Think-
big on one page, I don't know, we gotta flip it to the other page, or?
Yeah, I think that's the next agenda item where he would be presenting the financial reports.
Yeah, because the numbers are cut off here, and then, and getting back to those greens in 4 and 7, I look back in the history of it, and it's been there since 2019.
I think
They've been trying to repair those greens,
Right.
so it's been a while.
Well, yeah, and so the repairs were requested in the budget for this budget, 24, 25. But, you know, I always go back to, there's only so much pizza, and that didn't make the cut. So, you know, we finance, you know, put it in a budget amendment, and thankfully, council approved that amendment last night, so that funds us to get that project completed now.
Who fights, or who asks for the budget for the golf course? Who asks for the budget, how much money? The committee, or the superintendent, or the manager? Does he need so much money for operations in the budget?
Yes, the superintendent, along with the grounds manager and the business manager, do the budget request.
And what was it last year or this year? How much did you request for the golf course?
There was none, because it was created for parks. It's parks, it's not
There's
golf.
no golf course, there's parks. All the money goes
It's
to parks.
considered to parks, it's not considered to golf. That's the cut line right there.
Yeah, the golf course does have its own budget. It's under parks, but it has its own budget. Recreation is under parks and recreation. It has its own budget. Those are subdivisions of the division of parks.
Again, by any chance, would you know how much golf was given last year or this year? As a
I
budget?
can get it for you. I don't have it right here in front of me. I can get it.
Because it sounds like it doesn't get enough, and we have to like ask, you know, we need money for certain things, even for tee boxes or whatever, you know, small repairs.
Yeah, well, I oversee 5 divisions, and I could tell you that each one is short. But like I say, there's only so much pizza to go around to everybody, and we just keep cutting the slices smaller to try
Well,
to
even in
make it.
parks, we have to have quality of life, cleaning and maintaining and beautifying. What takes a budget, so we have to make sure if that's included, you know, ask for more money. All you can do is hopefully we'll get it when during budget season, and I want it.
I hope you vote that way.
Well, no,
when
I will.
When we do our budget request.
I know, but I know that the golf committee, the golf parks has always been low. And based on what's been coming up, beautifying, maintaining, giving more bike trails, you know, walking trails, you know, it's money. So you have to make sure that y'all can get that money for golf.
So last year, we requested $749,125.
How much was approved?
That was what was approved.
That was what was approved.
Sorry, that, we don't, we only see the approved side. We don't get to see what all got caught up till we get the budget back, and then we can make those.
And that was spent mainly on maintenance of
Parks.
the
Well, that
course?
includes everything. That's salaries, gas, maintenance, fertilizer, that's all of it.
Yeah, because I know the golf committee or the golf department lost, they had $1 million budget or $1 million grant that they found back, you know, a few years ago. And they took that money and used it on a Field of Dreams. And then the golf department didn't get that money back.
So that was a certificate of obligation.
Yes, sir.
And the wording that was adopted by council it could only, for a golf course, it could only be used to fund the additional 9 holes. So when council said they did not want to proceed with that, that money had to be then spent on anything related to parks. And that was in the scope of the certificate of obligation. And I think Coach Cardenas got a copy of that, I believe.
A long time ago, I don't wanna go in that route. I don't wanna
Well, I'm just
say
saying, they
anything
just
about
hope-
that because I'm not a happy camper with the results back then and the results that we're going in right now. Because according to someone, it was already budgeted 20,000 for these greens to start on, and we haven't even proceeded on. And
That's
if
not
If the
correct.
council just voted on to be approved, you know,
That's not correct.
okay. Yeah. This lady then did not give me the right information then.
That line item was cut from the budget, and that's why it had to come back as a budget amendment. So budget amendments only cover items that are outside of the budget. And so since that item was not budgeted, the only way we could proceed was with a budget amendment that was presented last night.
And we've been at it since August, gentlemen,
last year.
this last year.
Mhm.
But we got a budget amendment for spewing sod at a baseball park.
No, I just did every month.
That was a donation.
Oh, donation.
That, we didn't have the budget for that either. It was requested numerous times, and it was cut, and the Del Rio Little League sought donations, and that's the way, I told them we could do all the work, we got people, but we just didn't have the money to buy it. So they received donations, they presented them, we presented that to council, council accepted the donation, we went and did the work.
So you're saying if we were to get donations for the golf course, then the city would do the maintenance? So this
Yes.
is more on materials than maintenance?
Yes, 100%.
And I think that's where Mr. Hislop and his expertise on trying to find people to help out and what his heart is in for the golf committee or anything in parks, whatever Rotary. He can also advise, you know, or give it to say, Mr. Mario Carlos, I got you $5,000, I got you $2,000 for this purpose. You know, the city then we take it to council to have it approved as a accepted
We-
donation.
Correct.
And then y'all will act on it that week or that day or as long as the
Or
materials.
as soon as possible,
As
yeah.
soon as as long as the material's there?
As soon as the materials are there, we start work.
Okay.
You know, for the baseball field, it was literally a couple of weeks before the start of the season. And it was a time crunch, but we got it done. And I know Marty's giving me the eye that we're way off topic, so.
Yes, I feel Mr. Carlos is comfortable with the committee for right now as far as, you know, having some kind of recommendations or comments, working together with him, and then bringing it to council as a group or as a one person or, you know, supporting whoever's going to present it. You know, I think they ought to give him a chance and to see how he wants to work with the committee or not. You know, as far as recommendations, even to Lázaro or you.
Right.
Both, all three of y'all, because y'all in charge of the whole park, of the whole golf course.
Right.
So that'd be my recommendation, gentlemen, just work with Mr. Carlos and the group, see how this is gonna work out before we decide that that's it.
When's y'all's budget amendment? Is that in August or July?
We just did one last night. The budget amendment?
No, when's your budget?
Oh, the budget, so we're in budget process right now. We're trying to get CIP projects, big dollar items, presented to finance, because I don't know the exact date, but there will be meetings for just CIP capital improvement projects. And trying to identify funding sources for those projects, right? And CIP is usually a 5-year plan that what staff submits gets applied to that plan based on what council decides as a priority. And that process is ongoing right now.
Okay. Carlos, can I make a recommendation that you budget for holes 2, 8, and 5 that are dying? For, that way we have the budget for the following year.
We have it in
Holes
the
2,
minutes.
5, and 8.
Now, I'm a little confused. Mr. Ayala is the business manager
Correct.
and Lázaro is the grounds manager.
No, Lazaro's the superintendent of all the parks in the
So
city.
who's the grounds manager?
That's Ramito.
So Ramiro should be making that recommendation to the superintendent, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Mr. Ayala has nothing to do with the maintenance of the,
But,
But we cannot make a recommendation to Ramiro.
well, so again, we're all on the same team, right? If you approach Carlos with something, he's gonna pass it on. If you approach Ramiro with something, he's gonna pass it on. If you approach Lázaro with something, he'll pass it on. If you approach me with something, I'm gonna tell them and I'm gonna pass it on. So, you know, I don't want y'all to think you can only talk to the grounds guy or the business guy about business. And, I mean, business, I'd prefer you talk to Carlos, because he's got that mind for it. But, you know, all of us are all on the same team, and we all want the same thing. You know, I get to wear a lot of different hats, and, you know, I tell all of them, you know, we're all on the same team. You know, we're all trying to produce as much as we can with the funds available. And you know, sometimes I feel a lot of our staff almost perform miracles on some of the stuff because we're trying to do it as frugally as possible, but produce the best product. And you know, I'm really hopeful that we can get the golf course back on track. I believe about 2 years ago when I first started working with it, I told staff that I wanted it, when was it rated the top 10 9-hole course? In the 80s?
1980 and 70s.
And so I said, I want that distinction again. That's our goal. We got to have something to aim for. You know, and it's going to take a lot of work and money, and I firmly believe we can get there if we put everybody's minds to it, you know, and think outside the box. That's what we've been, you know, again, I'm going to go back to Little League. We're thinking outside of the box, trying to get those fields to a playable condition and have a good product for kids to use.
So let me say, so let me make it clear this. Would it be fair to say then, if Ramiro is a manager, Mr. Carlos is a manager, you're the superintendent and you're parks director for all this, would it be fair to then say to have Mr. Ramiro here present in these committee meetings so we can ask him questions and he can give us his thoughts, since he's also a manager?
I'm open for that. I know Ramiro is more of a reserved. He doesn't like being on the spot.
Well, we
because-
can't put him on the spot if he's doing.
Well,
his
I
job.
mean, even public speaking. So, you know, I'll be happy to ask him to come, and, you know, try to give.
So
answers.
he's the one going to make the decision to come here or not? Or is it one of those things that we need his presence to ask him a question as a manager?
I mean, I can force him to be here. He's a
We
salaried
don't want to
employee.
force him totally, he just has to understand that it's part of his job description as a manager
Right.
to come to the meetings of the golf committee, so they can ask certain questions, or he has certain concerns to say, and what recommendations.
Good with that.
Because my question is, when I've gone out there prior to you making the sheds, I see all that equipment in the back, tractors, mows, cutters, all these equipment against the fence. I don't know the conditions of those equipment. I would like to ask, since he's the maintenance manager. You know, I know in shed number 60, you had the golf picker machine in there. Okay, it looks like brand new, but it's broken. Why
Yeah.
haven't they fixed it to the time that it broke? On number, I guess shed number 30-something, I noticed there was a roller in there with another tractor. Now, I'm just saying, okay, what are the conditions on these? And are we using them or utilizing them or not? See, I can't go and ask him those questions. But here, I can ask him those questions since he is the maintenance manager.
We will try to start bringing him and make him available to y'all.
I mean, do you gentlemen agree or not on that? Now, this is just my opinion. This is just my opinion. I'm not gonna say this is what I want.
Right.
Now, if the committee agrees that we want to have all managers from the golf committee here, course here, it's only fair that we can ask those questions to see in which way we can assist, either by going to the budget or either tell them we need council to be realized, this is the conditions, that's why the golf course aimed like it's supposed to be. You know, we gotta speak out so we can put the golf course back in the the way it was, because lack of equipment, lack of fertilizer, lack of not manpower or weather or whatever. You know, if he's gonna be the manager for the maintenance, we need to ask him questions in the light of, he can tell us why he's not having trouble or he's doing fine. You know, just to ease up our questions and our doubts, and without coach or any of us, when we go out to play golf, or go up there and we see him, ask him those questions out of, can we not, because of they're in the committee, or ask him as citizens, you know, if he wants to answer or not. But I think it'd be safe, fair, and honest to ask him here, so there won't be any doubts of saying what's going on at the golf course for maintenance.
We can talk to him and try to make him available for
I
these
mean, I'm
meetings.
pretty sure he knows all these gentlemen up here, so he shouldn't be afraid of answering the questions or speaking up a little bit.
Right?
Any comments on that?
Nope, I think we move on.
Okay. Go ahead, Marty?
Okay,
Or
item,
Mr. Scott, are you done, sir?
Yes, I'm done.
okay, we are moving on to item 5C, which is golf business manager update.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we're gonna look at this through Q2, right? So that'll include January, February, and March. I believe it's the second before the last column to the right. I don't know how it's normally covered. I'm gonna do my best to be here. So for the quarter regarding 2 for 3 deals, the gross volume was 13,800. The regular golf rounds charge was 13,724. Moving down to transportation, the rental cards was $10,350. And then moving on down to the driving range, $2,578. Food and beverage, $4,385. Merchandise, $2,119. Gift cards, $481. Total product sales was $47,437. There was 3 tournament fees, $3,000. And then, of course, the membership, all payments were $42,738. Total revenue for the second quarter was $93,175. Sorry about that. Then you move down to expenses. Personnel expenses, $118,018. Supplies, $20,173. Contractual and other costs, $14,917. Purchases for resale, $3,112. Total operating expenses for the second quarter was $156,219. Subtracting the total revenue from the total operating expenses, we were negative $63,044 for the second quarter of 2025.
So, just so I can understand, on your revenue side, your last line item, membership payments, let's just say for the half a year, it's 81,472. Is that correct?
For the half a year?
Yeah, I'm just looking at,
Oh, so you're adding the 2 quarters?
yes,
Okay.
the membership payments,
Yes, sir.
is that the total of the breakdown right below it where it says monthly membership charges?
That's,
And you have a total of 88,422?
yes.
Okay, so the difference was not collected? Is that what that's saying?
Lázaro, can you help me with that, please?
Well, I know, but the difference was not collected, correct?
So these are members not paying
So in
their
half a
dues.
year, $7,000 was not paid by memberships.
And how are we working that now, being that in the past, it's always been an issue of collecting membership fees? How much time are you giving them to stay as a member before they say, you don't pay your fees within so many months, you're out?
So for example, like the members that have a gross amount that is owed, then a letter has been sent to them to pay. However, they, have the right to either dispute it or pay it, which some have continued to pay, some, are still, hiding behind the bushes and, waiting out, hoping that it gets written off. So that's the part that accounts for the negative balance.
My question is, about how much time do you give them before you, because I'm pretty sure they're also renting golf sheds, the members, right?
I guess the way I understand his question, what is the mechanism to collect or to dismiss?
That is a finance department decision. Everything that's past due, we have not written off yet. We're still making numerous attempts to get those debts collected. Now, once the finance director feels that we've exhausted all efforts, then that decision would be brought forward to the city manager and probably to city council that we'd be writing off that debt. But it has not been determined yet, because some of these are pretty old. And we're gonna be coming back to y'all to present some plans related to membership, because some of the issues are, the starting and stopping. There'll be they want a membership, but they'll pay for 3 months and then say, well, I'm going to Cancun for a month, so cancel my membership and then restart it when they come back. And that's how we had previously multiple entries for one person. So they're paying one bill, but these other bills are just running a total every month. And we found several of those. So we're going to be coming back with recommendations of, if you want a membership, you can pay it 12 months, but it's all 12 months.
Right, exactly.
It's not start-stop.
Right.
And we're currently working on that document to reissue to all the members with the current language that it's a 12-month agreement with 12 monthly installments. But we'll be bringing that back.
That's great. Yeah.
Questions?
Any other questions?
Yes. On the tournament fees, it shows there for the year 2025, you have 5 tournaments, and you just have their $7,710. Is there a way to get a breakdown on the tournament fees each organization pays to make sure everyone's being treated the same with the same price?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And that's information I can pull from 10-4 easily. Yep. I'll bring it back to the next meeting. Is that okay?
That's fine, thank you.
All right.
So this report pretty much shows you're on track to do, or to spend $650,000 this year in person, on the bottom expenses, not including any maintenance on the course itself. So from a $750,000 budget, $650,000 of it is gonna go to this, and then, so it leaves you $100,000 to buy the fertilizer and equipment and everything else. Not much. I'm sure fertilizer's
Yes, sir, that's
truly
correct.
expensive.
And that's pretty common in all the city departments. Payroll is the largest chunk of it, and then the rest is for operations. And then when other things come up, you know, we're having to transfer money out of this budget to that budget to cover this repair or that repair. So yeah, you know, basically about $100,000.
It doesn't go very far.
No, I believe our fertilizer's 40? Fertilizer alone's 40 of it. And, you know, irrigation heads,
Yeah,
fuel.
just regular maintenance. I mean, just to try to keep up, and we're 10 years behind. So, I don't know. Looks like 1.2 million a year would get us there in about 5 years, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
On your merchandise, have we sold any of those golf clubs that we bought for sale?
We sold one more bag a couple of weeks ago, so
we sold
we're down to 3. Yeah, we sold 2 out of the 5, right? Yes, yes, sir.
Is that gonna be a common practice, or this is a one-time thing to see how it goes?
So, Carlos and I have talked, we're thinking of using some of that inventory, those new bags, because we keep getting a lot of requests for rental clubs. So, we're gonna pitch that to the city manager and to the finance director, and set up a fee for that, for rentals of clubs, because we're getting a lot of requests for that. And that was the intent, was to have clubs available to rent and sell. So we only bought the 5, we've sold 2, so maybe we pull 1 out as a rental set or 2 sets. But yeah, that's in the plan for the future, to be implemented.
Would it be fair to say we can ask citizens that don't want their clubs anymore to donate them to the golf course to let borrow?
Absolutely.
I mean, we can ask citizens, because I've seen some in a dump. They throw a whole bundle of golf clubs with the bag just to throw them away. I mean, if we can put out word to citizens or golfers that don't want anything more to do with golf, or they're too old or whatever, and they're in great shape.
Yeah, it would be the same process as any other donation, because basically anything over $50 needs approval. So we would, you know, go through that process and bring it to council to accept that donation. But it's possible, yes.
I guess, who would inspect the golf clubs to make sure they're playable? I mean, even though they give it to us, but we still have to have somebody to inspect them.
I'd delegate that to Coach.
You'll be up to coach?
Yeah. Yes,
I can help out with that.
thank you.
Yeah, because I'll go ahead and donate a bag that I found. Even my son found out in a dumpster out there in the country. Just throw them out. Okay, sir, go ahead.
We're good?
Mr. Ayala?
I mean, that's all the report itself, sir.
Okay, we are on item 5D, which is the superintendent update, which includes update on number 4 and 7 greens, update on the replacement of bridges, update on golf course maintenance, and update on golf course signage.
All right, good afternoon again. So the update on the number 4 and number 7 green, so as Scott updated y'all, We did get the budget amendment approved, so we're gonna start getting the package generated for PO so we can start ordering and be able to provide a better timeline for y'all. So the whole amount is gonna be including the sod, the sand, sandy loam, and whatever else it needs to cover those repairs. We are planning to order a little more extra than what is required for the greens. So we also are including the putting and chipping green, and then there should be some excess left over, which we can use to turn into our own little farm in the back of the course and use for repairs as needed. So like how was mentioned, like, you know, holes 2, 5, and 8, if there's a good amount left over, then we can go ahead and start doing some transplants once everything is settled. So that's what we're hoping to use as far as once all the supplies do get here. Now, as far as the replacement of bridges, so that agenda item was approved, what we say, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
So we already got in contact with Roadrunner Bridge, and we already sent them our PO, and paperwork has been submitted for the down payment, and then they can go ahead and provide us a timeline when they're gonna start shipping the material over here, and then we can start coordinating with the other departments so we can go ahead and do the replacements in-house.
Is that just one bridge?
It's gonna be the bridge to cross over to number 1 green, then the pedestrian bridges for 4 and 5. For number 4 green, and then to go to number 5 T-box. So that's where we're starting at now, and then as the next fiscal years come along, then we're gonna start replacing two more each year until we're fully repaired.
Now, do we have a maintenance bridge as well?
So yes, that's gonna be submitted for the next fiscal year.
Okay, so that one's not gonna be the one that has water flooding all the time when it rains?
Correct. So, yeah, so I mean, we already have the numbers of what to expect, so that we can go ahead and be asked for our CIP projects next year. So, once we attend those meetings, then that's what we're gonna submit and push for to get approved. Yeah, because we know that, I mean, that one, most importantly, that has to be a priority. So that's gonna be the priority for next year.
As far as, because I've been asked a question by some members that they, some knew already when I was there in the tournament about the netting for the golf range.
So we're also still gonna push that for a CIP project to get approved.
So it hasn't been approved yet?
No, sir.
Put into the budget.
So I believe we're having a discussion on leftover funds. I think it's tomorrow. I have to go back and look at my calendar. And the netting is one of the items that we are proposing to be used from leftover CO money for since it's allowed to be used for that purchase. It's just, you know, there's a whole lot of projects, and everybody's competing for the same dollars. So we have that meeting set, I believe it's tomorrow, so we can all go in and make our pitch on what we're requesting. I know Mrs. Burkhart, the city manager, is on board with getting the netting for the driving range. She knows that's a priority. So it's just gonna come down to, you know, how much money was left over from the other projects and what we can allocate it towards.
I got 2 questions. In regards to the replacement of the greens, is there any way we could find out what the cost to have a professional company come and install those 2 greens, not the putting green, but the other one, to see if the difference is $5,000 per green? Or do you feel very confident that the work will be done to the same standards as the company?
I mean, I feel very confident that we can get the replacement done, and then also just looking at the cost of having somebody come in with materials and labor, we're looking at, you know, 2 to 2.5 times the cost of what we're asking.
Okay. And then in regards to the net, I mean, would there be, Oscar said there's 3 other greens that need to be repaired. I played in Uvalde. They play, I mean, just as close to the driving range as the holes. You play Breckenridge and San Antonio. I mean, they're on top of each other. I really think that you know, Carlos needs to decide what the priorities are. I understand there's an issue of concern of liability, but you go to golf courses in San Antonio, Breckenridge is a prime example, and the holes are next to each other, and there's balls flying from one hole to another hole, and, you know, if we're gonna spend $50,000-$60,000, you know, maybe it's beneficial to fix the other holes. That's my opinion.
And I'll have to go back and visit with Ms. Burkhart because she was given that as a priority. I don't know from whom, but that was one of her items that she was pushing for as a priority. So I'll have to go back and talk to her and see, you know, if.
Well, and maybe the committee disagrees.
Now,
If that's
and
what
I'm
we're here
sorry.
to make recommendations, I think it's important.
Also, we can't use CO money for grass. So those funds aren't eligible to be used on those repairs,
Just grass or the whole base material, rock,
all of it.
all of it?
Because a requirement of using CO money is the item that you're buying has to be guaranteed to use, have its useful life for the term of the loan. And grass has been deemed that it could die at any time, so it's not eligible to be purchased using CO money. It took me a while to wrap my head around that, but it's kind of like livestock. You know, you have to be, you can't use your livestock as collateral on certain loans.
That answers my
I
question.
want to backtrack just a second. You said we were fixing bridge 1, 4, and 5, correct?
Pedestrian bridges 4 and 5.
4 and 5. You talking 5 going across 5 fairway to the green?
No, the walking
By the
bridge,
tee box.
The walking
Tee
bridge
box.
that leads to
Tee
number
box
5
bridge.
tee box,
the 5 tee box.
right there
Okay,
behind
By
the
the
water plant.
generator.
And then
Box on 5.
The 5 tee
The
box.
one, how you
That's
get to.
4.
That's
Well,
five.
the
That's
the
The
tee
one on
box
the
that's
right is
next to
they're
the green.
considering
The
it
other
for-
one would be, ADA compliant because it's more level. Gotta have an ADA compliant bridge because now you're upgrading.
Correct.
On 4?
Yeah, the one the furthest one to the right?
The one that's closest to the spring.
Okay. Well, because if you were talking to fix hole 5 going through 5 green,
No, that's a con-
if we ever gonna fix that, no? That bridge, concrete bridge? Okay. If we're gonna fix that bridge, I think the water department should share half of those expenses because they go to check the water treatment plant. I think that should be part of the water department as well, not just come out of the golf commission that we're looking for budget for bridges. Because they use that bridge to go to the power plant, to the main generator and go in there. And I made a recommendation to Carlos the other day that the water department owes us a car path going around to number 4 green because they blocked that area to go into the car path to go to 4 green. I think we should make a recommendation that they should build us a car path to go around that generator. Not
And-
come out of the golf.
I don't think they're opposed to that. It's just the workload they're currently under. That's why it hasn't gotten done. So for example, when I'm talking about the regulated floodway, the reason those generators are so high up in the air and ugly is because that's the base flood elevation.
But yeah, that
So-
doesn't matter, but.
So
we
that's
had a
why it
car
had to be
path.
put there, and we got to redo that cart path.
Yeah,
Yes.
they should redo that car path, not come out of,
And so, just so y'all are aware, since we're talking about bridges, we were given $125,000 to repair cart paths and bridges. Which, when we got the quote for all the bridges, we were almost at 700, 600? Okay, 400,000. So that's why we had to kind of pick and choose, and we're gonna submit every year for those replacements. And we haven't even discussed cart paths, right? Because we're hoping that, between Public Works and our side, the parks, golf facilities, we could build those in-house, with just materials provided by Public Works for that.
Yeah, I think that would be the best idea.
Right. And in discussions with them, they're not opposed to it, they understand. It's just with the amount of work they've had dealing with our water issues.
Yes, I
They've been a
understand.
little
Yes, sir.
preoccupied with something else, but it is on our plan to get remediated, fixed.
Would it be like, we're gonna repair the water treatment plant, walls and everything? During that time of repairs, of the companies going in there with cement and whatever repairs they're gonna do in that water, no water supply there, the springs, would it be that the time for them to go ahead and put that bridge in that particular plan?
I would have to check with Public Works because I know their cost estimate is already on a defined scope of work. And so I'd have to see if that would be doable, I don't know the
Yeah,
answer to that.
based on what the coach is saying, that they ought to share it, because we are gonna work on that plant.
Right.
Or sometime, and they're gonna go in there with trucks and everything else. Then that'll be a time that maybe they can make a cement pad, I would not, out in the bridge or whatever at the time.
I don't see why that couldn't happen. It would just increase the cost, obviously, of the work that we're trying to get done. So that's something I'd have to bring up with our Public Works Director.
Yeah, be something just to foresee, that we can eliminate, like I said, golf money. Go ahead, Mr. Lázaro.
All right, so now with the golf course maintenance, so of course, as if y'all saw today, we started the demo of the old cart sheds. So we're hoping to get everything completed within the next couple of days, and then we can, begin, planning with ideas to what to convert that area to, and I mean, of course, that can be discussed in future meetings, and we can take it from there. We have completed our spring treatments for the fairways and the tee boxes and various locations of the rough. So we're catching up on that, and then we've also hired a new groundskeeper to become fully staffed at the golf course. So that gentleman will begin on Monday. So that's where we're at as far as maintenance goes. And then we did receive some signs for the golf course for cart path and no parking along the greens, as we all know that it's been an issue, for a pretty long time. So we're gonna start getting those installed. We also got material ordered for the small bollards and some cable, so we can block off what needs to be blocked off. So we can see that we can get some of the grass growing back, because we do see the tracks that are there that have been caused by years of players driving, close to the greens or on the greens. So we're gonna start doing our part to get that prevented. Any questions?
Any update on equipment?
Well, as far as equipment goes, we're putting in for the fixed assets to get items purchased next year. So we're looking at, of course, getting a new sprayer, a new turf spreader, a new gator, and we can only hope that they get approved for next year, because we do see it's needed, and of course we had to bring a vendor out last time to treat the fairways, and bringing them out from Kerrville costed $1,000, and of course that $1,000 could have gone towards somewhere else, but we saw the need to get it treated, so we went that direction. But we are putting in our fixed assets request to get purchased for next year.
And the equipment that picks up the range balls, that's working now?
It works, but of course, since we're driving on dirt, it's only a matter of time before those plastic discs will break again. So we're also looking into try to get, what kind of turf we can use for the driving range, whether it be, actual sod or maybe used artificial turf.
Did we ever get a roller?
We're also gonna have to try to go back to the drawing board and get that again, because funding issues arose.
Yeah, that's been an issue for years on the roller, versus purchase and order versus the vendor, the money was there, and now they lost the money again, so everything was gone again. Still got square one. So I would just, I mean, when Mr. Scott was proceeding it, at the time of trying to get that roller corrected and the PO, you know, that's something that should have kept on going instead of losing that money, because that was a necessity.
Yeah, so when it comes to the roller, there was an issue with the vendor and not receiving a payment for something previous, so they had put that on hold until they got paid, but by the time they did get paid, then that funding got allocated elsewhere. So, which is, now we're pushing again to get that rededicated to us so that we can go ahead and make the purchase, now that we're caught up with that vendor.
If it was budgeted, I wonder if you can go to finance and put that money in encumbered. That way, they can't touch it and just leave it for that purpose.
Yeah, that's something we'll go ahead and discuss with them to make sure it covers only that.
Okay, sir. Well, Ernie?
No, hopefully we didn't scare Carlos.
It's a lot, Mr. Carlos.
Happy to have you on board, my friend.
Okay, Ms. Marty?
Okay, the next item is number 6, establish next meeting.
Oh, one more question, Mr. Scott or Lázaro. When are we gonna get the replacement committee member for Mr. Clay?
So that came up in our Tuesday meeting with the city manager. And we were told that, you know, we need to get moving on it, but we were trying to see which way council was going with the commission, because we didn't want to seat a member, and then if council decided to go a different direction, you know, he'd have the shortest tenure as a commission member in the history of the Golf Commission. So, you know, as soon as we can get some clarity on that, because I believe there was some confusion on if Ms. Burkhart and the mayor did interview him. There was, and it was described as, yes, he was interviewed, but Ms. Burkhart didn't recall the interview. So we're gonna go back and re-interview him with the mayor and city manager and a member from the staff of golf, and then see, you know, what other applicants were still on the list, and go through that whole process again.
Would the committee have any recommendations as far as the member of applicants that you receive?
So under the ordinance that was adopted by council, it goes to the mayor and city manager to select those committee members.
Not a recommendation of anybody in the committee, or committee itself, right? No?
No.
So, well, I'm just saying that because if they know people, they want to help out, they want to be here, being short-term, long-term, it wouldn't matter. Based on experience of being a golfer, business person, you know, the loyalty and the dedication they want to do for the golf course. I'm just saying, there's people that recommend it by certain committee members that they know they want to help. What applicants we found, you know, who's going to decide? I know you're saying is the city manager and the mayor or whatever, and probably part of the committee, I mean, of the administration of the golf, which is probably fine. I'm just saying, if there's a certain person that which the committee would at least know and say, well, we would like to recommend this person, you know, out of good faith, of saying that, well, not to downfall anybody else. I'm just saying that sometimes they pick
Right.
somebody that's going to help out instead of.
And again, this is following the ordinance that was adopted by council for the commissions.
The commissions. Okay.
So, I mean.
I
it's-
agree to find out first if there's gonna be a commission, and
Right, and that's the
Based
whole,
on last night's presentation on this particular chart, what is the timeline of urgency to do this right away or give it time? Because I think this committee would like to work a little bit with Carlos. I mean, if you're saying we're against the ordinance or we're conflicting right now,
so That's going to be determined by council. Like I said, my presentation last night was to get direction last night. But I was told, they wanted some time. So I don't know exactly what the timeline is. That's going to be determined by council on what they decide, how they want to. I think, if I remember correctly, the mayor said they would mark up the chart and get it back to us. So as soon as that happens, then we can bring it back to city council with the recommendation, and then we would know.
Okay. Any other questions, gentlemen? Coach?
No.
No.
I know Carlos is doing a good job.
Okay.
Thank Carlos.
Next thing, Marty, please.
It's
Also,
the establishment of the next
Carkisky,
meeting
thank you.
date.
So gentlemen, what is your next available date?
May 21st, 28th, I'm sorry.
28th?
21st or 28th?
28th is fine.
28th is
The last
fine.
Wednesday of the month, yeah. Well, yeah.
Votes,
Fine,
May
28th.
28th? Sure is it?
That's fine.
Okay, that's fine. So the duration time of, from now to the 28th, will we know if we're going to have a new committee member with us then, or is after the commission meeting?
Again, it would be based on when
Oh, yeah.
mayor and city manager can do the interviews. And then that has to go back to city council. So I know we're meeting the 13th and the 27th.
Second.
So if they can get the interviews done and have their recommendation for council, and we can get it on, I don't know that we'll make it by the 13th, but by the 27th, because the commission would meet on the 28th, it could be possible.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But just to clarify, as you said, that's a city manager decision. It has nothing to do with our recommendation of who's the next commissioners, if this commission still exists.
Correct. So council adopted a boards and commission ordinance, and in that it changed how the commissions are done and seated. So that changed to where the mayor, the city manager, and a representative from that area, golf, would be involved in the interview process.
Thank you.
So would that be the superintendent and the manager, or all three of you?
I believe the last time it was the business manager. It just boils down to which staff member is available. Because we all get the email with the list and we can communicate to each other. And then based on those interviews, the choice is made. I know I've sat in on them. Other times Lazaro sat in on them for different commissions. And, there was times for building standards, I couldn't make those interviews, so I had the division head go with the city manager and the mayor. So it's just a member of staff. It doesn't say particularly who.
As of right now, Mr. Lázaro, do you know all the committee members here in terms of expiration or reapply? Or are they all still good to serve, or they have to reapply? Everybody's current right now for another 2 years or 3 years, whatever?
Yeah, I have their term dates and expiration dates, they're saved on my computer.
If you don't mind, if any of them have been expired based on taking over for those that left,
I don't-
and the expiration dates from those already here, and they have to reapply, they still want to serve in the committee. That way, by the time they do these interviews, if certain committee members don't want to be here no more or don't want to renew, that way they know how many applicants to interview.
So I'll verify and then I'll update you.
I just appreciate if you just send them to them to say if they're still interested before we set a number of how many need to be interviewed that we're going to need. Okay? So the next, council, the next meeting for the committee will be the 28th of May. Do I need a motion on that?
Yes.
No? Okay, so, any more questions, gentlemen, for these?
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, it's now 6:42, and we adjourn for this is a golf course committee meeting.
Good evening.